nostalgia
Aww.
in Super Mario 3D Land and Shovel Knight. Welcome to Game Feels, a deep, hard look at emotions in video games.
Oh, baby.
Each episode will compare two games that succeed or fail to evoke a particular emotion.
Get the tissues. We're about to get emotional.
Defect. What? That's so fun to say. Super Mario 3D Land was released in 2011 as the flagship Mario title for the Nintendo 3DS. It was critically acclaimed and is a top 5 best-selling 3DS game at 10 million copies to date. What a happy story. But hark! A storm approacheth! Shovel Knight was released in 2014 and is the first game from developer Yacht Club Games. It was a successful and completed Kickstarter game on PC, Wii U, and 3DS, then ported to the PlayStation family. So far, this little game has sold over 300,000 copies. But don't worry, little guy. Your house is built on concrete, not sand. This wind is picking up! If you want more facts, go elsewhere. We're here for opinions. A thunderstorm of opinions. Opinions about nostalgia, right?
What's nostalgia again?
Nostalgia, noun. A sentimental yearning for the happiness of a former place or time. I'm about to show you that manufacturing nostalgia is impossible. You'll never use the word nostalgia the same way again. Am I blowing your mind? Just you wait, mister, missy, madam. Non-gendered and unspecific formal article. Let's get into it already. We don't have all day, folks. We have places to do, people to be. I'm going to exhaustively compare the marketing, story, characters, enemies, visuals, music, items, and levels of these games. Yep. Get comfy, and I'll show you how 3D Land claws for your nostalgia while I feel Shovel Knight is on its way to earning nostalgia of its own. Get that umbrella! So before each of these games launched, we knew just a few things. Shovel Knight revisits a few old game designs. Super Mario Bros. 3's World Map, Castlevania and Zelda 2's Towns, Mega Man's Robot Master Fights, DuckTales Pogo Jump, the Quasi-NES color palette, and chiptune soundtrack. Sounds to me like a nostalgia orgy. Nostalgia, orgistalgia, orgialgia. But wait! Yacht Club Games' goal was to emulate the quality of older titles, not the titles themselves. Even though they cherry-picked famous elements from the past, they used their modern wits to sharpen those ideas so they're not an awkward, dated chore or surface-level mimicry. A fun, interesting adventure from a fledgling studio. 3 years previously, the crazy old king Nintendo wanted to release Super Mario 3D Land, which was teased back in 2010 using nostalgia as the hook. They flaunted that raccoon tail as if to say,
hey, remember when we made Super Mario Bros. 3 the best Mario game ever? Well, we are basically going to make that until we bleed you dry.
But, David, how is this different from Shovel Knight using people's memories of NES games to convince them to support the Kickstarter?
It's different in that Shovel Knight's concepts are core gameplay elements. Maps, environments, bosses, attacks are all essential to how you experience the game. The raccoon tail is one power-up that lets you jump farther and sometimes fly. I'm compelled, sarcastically. You hear that sound? The pitter-patter of different opinions hitting a roof of comfortable thoughts? Take this blankie. Listen, I love Mario. He's beautiful. I've devoted hundreds of hours to his adventures and side jobs.
What's a side job? Sounds like a weird sex move, like your grip would be a little sideways while you're jerking him.
The point here is that Mario games used to be weird and interesting, and that's when they were at their best. Lately, they've gone vanilla, and they shouldn't have to be. They can be more Neapolitan, maybe dairy-free, with maybe some fresh fruits and nuts sliced into them. Alright, let's talk about story. 3D Land. A Tanuki tree gets blown, Bowser kidnaps Peach, Mario saves her. Boring, tired, sexist. But look at the 3D old school pictures. Other than these pictures, there's little story, which is for the best with such familiar characters. Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight and Shield Knight are partners and lovers. Shield Knight is tall, playing defense. Shovel Knight is small, playing offense. Shield Knight is captured one day by the Order of No Quarter, a colorful cast of knights that you will meet and fight through the course of your adventure. I give 3D Land credit for showing its first scene without text, pantomiming the damsel archetype, but even though what text is used. Shovel Knight is given an emotional arc. In the intro sequence, you see his routine, then it's broken. He mourns the loss of his partner, retreats, then an external force kicks him in the pants to get his best friend. It's simple, but it's effective. Mario looks surprised, scuffles around, then goes blank after the first stage. Just a little too simple, no? Sure, Mario's a guy with no chest voice, having a gay old time, and that's sort of a fun, but isn't this a bit of one note? Am I even a human being? Wahoo! What gets me out of bed in the morning? Why do I keep doing this over and over? Platformers don't need much story, but aren't we sick of damsels in distress and unmotivated heroes? There's nothing nostalgic about mind-numbing tedium. Shovel Knight sorta has a damsel in distress, but she's not a token or a trophy. She's his other half. This not only motivates you to progress toward her, it endears you to Shovel Knight, your avatar, because you see and play as him being a human. The player experiences his dreams of getting to hold her in his arms again, and getting to be held himself. And at the game's end, spoiler alert, you join forces with Shield Knight and beat the final boss through teamwork. There's even a false ending in which she doesn't survive, further emphasizing how much Shovel Knight needs her in his life. He is a person like you, motivated by honor, love, and chivalry! Peach and Mario do a dance. Shovel Knight or Mario? Who's clawing? Who is earning? Yup! All the characters in Shovel Knight, even the throwaways, have personality. The townsfolk, shopkeepers, Trample King, the mini-bosses. Every boss knight has a stage, visual design, song, dialogue, and fighting style that fleshes out their character. It's amazing! 3D Land, you have the Toads, silent enemies, copy-pasted Spinny Sol, and Boomerang Bertha, generally angry Bowser. Okay. And then there's Peach. Here's the thing, Peach is not a character. Besides the Paper Mario series, Super Princess Peach, and the Party and Sports games, Princess Peach is never allowed to do or say anything. It's sad. She's never shown running her kingdom, having competent guards, or entertaining guests. What if the opening level of a Mario game let you just hang out with Peach? What if you walk in the early morning to visit the castle and have some breakfast? Mario could eat as fast or as slow as you like, running around the dining room, getting seconds, all the while Peach would be taking care of some kingdom business. After breakfast, you go for a run with Peach, energized by her badass cooking. What if she keeps pace on the run and encourages Mario when he jumps around town, saying how fun he is and how fun you are to be around? She could bring Mario to a training course in some Mushroom Kingdom park, and while at the park, you both see some kid stranded on top of the training course. Then Mario and Peach race each other to save the kid. If Mario saves the kid, no one's surprised, and Peach would still be encouraging. If Peach saves the kid, the player gets ideas for how to control Mario themselves, and still feels attached to Peach, as she's an important part of the Mushroom Kingdom in ways big and small. Then, if she gets kidnapped, you bet you sweet Italian ass you'll want to save her. I know I'm harping on Peach versus Shield Knight, but why shouldn't I? These women are essential to the plots of their games, and Nintendo's approach doesn't hold me anymore. Maybe I am a stupid, impatient American boy want to change. He makes ridiculous demands. We have a business to run. Go back to your sad music and indie movies and high expectations. You stupid boy. We are not Japanese. We're like the Netherlands. I said I liked Mario when I was younger. I liked it when I didn't know what was coming next. How can we feel anything about an experience if we don't know if it's from 1986, 1991, or 2011? Shovel Knight has a lot of repeated stage enemies. Some can be approached differently depending on your skills, but overall you whack, stomp, or throw something at them. Yeah, it's basic, but the controls for dealing with these enemies are tight and nuanced. The knockback from your shovel forces you to be careful with enemies. There are different patterns to your throwing items. Even if the enemies are simple, the ways you can handle them are flexible. To 3D Land's credit, it introduced a few new adorable enemies into the Marioverse. Look at all those adorable mobs. But oh wait, for every newbie there's an oldie. Or an oldie with a tail. Also, I mentioned the Order of No Quarter. Compare the cast of Shovel Knight's bosses with those of Super Mario 3D Land. Shovel Knight wins in quantity and quality. Again, how many of us are curious about Bowser's backstory, motivations, or level of intelligence? These questions are dealt with in the RPGs,
But if neither the context nor the challenges in a game are compelling, there can never be catharsis, and the entire experience amounts to twiddling one's thumbs. Games can be more than thumb twiddling.
Now, maybe platformers don't really need story and characters. Maybe they intrude on gameplay. Notice that my suggestion for the intro with Peach wasn't a cutscene. And notice how Shovel Knight's dreams and ending sequence also aren't cutscenes.
Gameplay and storytelling can merge, guys. Guys, they can merge. Guys, did you hear me? Guys, did you hear me?
We've seen thousands of platforming ideas, and I'm just not interested in something that's been done before better. Unless there's really fun or interesting gameplay ideas, world characters, or aesthetics, I just can't be bothered. Life is too short for mediocrity. Super Mario 3D Land looks good. Look at the colors, animations, confetti, all the confetti. Oh, real mapping, sparkles, more confetti. Animals, monsters, Luigi, 3 bosses, monsters, confetti. Peach, confetti. Meanwhile, Shovel Knight also looks good, but in a very different way. The art style is limited, but I feel the choices in color and design overcome those limitations completely. I'm not saying it's better than 3D Land's art style, I just think it's equally effective. 3D Land's soundtrack plays a mix of greatest hits and new songs. More on greatest hits later. Here's 7 songs you already know. 1 song remixed 4 different ways. Island music, some world themes with a twist, some fight music, boss music, and a frickin' Norman Rockwell Christmas family fun time snow theme. Yay. Seriously, yay. This song is the best. So 3D Land has a great song or 2, while Shovel Knight has a great soundtrack. 48 original, bad-ass chiptunes with plenty of choruses, motifs, and cinematic flourishes. I bend my knees before Jake Kaufman and Manami Matsumae for the music they made for Shovel Knight. They understand that great music is in the notes, not the instruments, and made something memorable. Yacht Club Games knew they had their hands on some genius work because the music is used as a collectible reward. For a change of pace, here's a thought experiment. Say Rat-a-tat, Lady Gaga, or Bobby Womack. Release an album, you love it, listen to it over and over, and embed it in your emotions and memory of that time period. Time passes, and if you hear that music again, you feel transported through the power of music because of the singular emotional experience. That's nostalgia. But what if they released a greatest hits album? Not quite the same emotional impact, right? What if they covered existing songs? Maybe they'll put a spin on things, but you'll already sorta know the music before it happens. They're being stagnant, not relevant. Oh, what if it's a Christmas album?
Get out.
Relevance comes from experimenting, exploring the human condition, or being observant and topical, thus creating unique emotional experiences.
Greatest hits albums don't do that, covers don't do that, and Christmas albums can just get out. Out! Out of my house, Klaus!
Then there's a gigantic middle ground, inspiration, as in artists that gather influences from lots of previous works. They meld tons of old with a little bit of new. They make throwbacks while staying in the present. Shovel Knight is a relevant throwback record. Good! So good! Super Mario 3D Land is a stagnant hits record. Bad. So very, very bad. Mario's got the classics: Mushroom, Fire Flower, Tanuki Tail, Invincibility, 1-ups, Shells, and brand new to 3D Land, a Boomerang, which is basically the Fire Flower, but it comes back to you. Aside from this stuff, 3D Land's items and values are just a big ball of what? Deep fried in what? Oil with a side of what? Sauce on a priceless porcelain plate made of what? Sir or madam, you're holding an item better than this, so here's 10 coins instead. Want a backup item? Come to a Toad House and grab it once before it disappears forever after. Here, have the raccoon tail. It lets you jump farther. What? Dash and fly to secret areas? That's crazy talk. Oh, you died 7 times. Do you want to be taunted by the wind power-up and get no option to make it go away? Did you use all your arbitrary tries and now you have to double back just a little bit farther through a game over screen instead of a retry screen? That's what the life system is. You got 50 coins. Have another try. I mean, life. You don't
don't need a choice of items, one is good. What is this, 1988? Want to flip your hat preference? Grind for 1,000 lives. Who needs engagement or clever systems? You can bounce on a turtle. Watch the clock though. Does it look fast? That's because you're used to Earth seconds. No. Please, you simply must try friggin' Mercury seconds. Who needs planetary standards?
In contrast, Shovel Knight's items use magic, which is easily replenished. There's a variety of items on which you use magic. You buy the items with gold. In fact, you buy everything with gold. I mean it. Everything has a gold value. It is perfect. Without the gold system, Shovel Knight would be a body without a skeleton. Ew. From the game's start, you know Shovel Knight loves gold. The whole game is full of it. Piles, chests, enemies, floating around. It's everywhere. It buys everything. Items, suits, and most notably, death.
Death takes an increasing fraction of your gold, unless you have the skills to get it back. The more gold you gain, the more you can potentially lose. This creates a direct relationship between player skill and in-game value, which is transcendent. Thank you.
I give a gold star to any game that ditches the live system or does something super smart with it. It's not like the icons in Mario would have to change for the live system to change. Just have a dollars and cents counter in the screen. But dollars are green mushrooms and cents are coins. You can accumulate the coins and 1-ups. You lose $1 when you die. Otherwise, you can spend your money in toad houses for backup items. You can buy a costume once and change it at will. As you pay, the toads have a prettier house, or use the mushrooms to fertilize a garden, or just eat the mushrooms, trip out, and play inverted melting versions of the levels.
In terms of level design, it's another case of quantity versus quality. 3D Land's first 8 worlds are pretty simple, then the next 8 worlds are similar, but a harder remix of what you already played, like adding a ton of enemies, making a Shadow Mario chase you, or giving you a time limit. It's not all that fresh, it's just cluttered, or made pink. I also really wish Nintendo EAD didn't skip around between all the world themes.
Just by looking, I can't recognize if this level is from World 2, or 5, or S7 in 3D Land. It's just a bunch of floating blocks. So few landmarks, next to no world themes. Aren't Nintendo the masters of world themes? I know I keep dissing the formulas, but biomes and locales happen in real life naturally. And there are biomes and locales in 3D Land levels, but they're scattered willy-nilly. Why not just group them? Changes in scenery create a sense of progress. If you see a mishmash of every kind of thing, I guarantee you'll forget the order of things you completed. I guarantee! At a glance, I can instantly tell that these are the stages of Plague Knight, Polar Knight, King Knight, etc. Knight. Look at these colors! Textures, structures! Shovel Knight's levels each have their own strong, overarching ideas and themes. Because no area overstays its welcome, the levels are rich with engaging situations. The team also knows how to teach the player the ins and outs of gameplay through design, not text.
Maybe less is more, guys. Guys, maybe less is more. Instead of more baggy bags of more, we should try less. Let's try less, guys. Guys, let's less.
3D Land was supposedly built for the 3DS, a chance to be a leap forward, but it didn't happen.
Sorry, 10 million people. Sorry times 10 million.
The one idea that could have let 3D Land be incredible was the 3D effect. As it was my first 3DS game, I had thought, before playing, that 3D would change my interactions with the world. I imagined a leap forward like Mario 64, establishing 3D platformers.
Innovation, schminishmation.
There are exactly 3 forced perspective puzzles, 2 forced perspective platforming segments, and a bunch of confetti and pop-ups. Basically the contents of a tech demo. It had the tip of an iceberg for a really interesting puzzle platformer that might only be possible in stereoscopic 3D. The rest of the game is pretty simple platforming, collecting, and platforming, and collecting. The stereoscopic 3D effect is, at best, more immersive, at worst, Doc!
Get the eye drops!
David, you seem to have forgotten that 3D Land has sold 10 million copies. No, I haven't forgotten. I'm just saying. I just don't think it's that fun. Moving on. Nintendo have always been the masters of their own technology. I'm sure there are wackos employed there who have diabolically creative notes full of weird 3D illusions and puzzles only possible on 3DS. Unfortunately, Nintendo's mascot Mario is no longer in any position to innovate. He's been around too long for people to embrace him for doing something different, like what happened with Mario 64. He'll just be outcast.
Super Mario Galaxy is the perfect tragedy showing Nintendo EAD's ridiculous amount of effort toward trippy level designs and fun power-ups. Problem, it didn't sell nearly as well as New Super Mario Bros. Wii. No contest, fully 3D, avant-garde, upside down, inside out, lots of control style Mario in space was beat out by the game with Mario, Luigi, and 2 Toads. New? More like PU. Like the new Super Mario Bros. Series, 3D Land represents everything wrong with nostalgia festering in a video game. It reeks of all its past selves. Now, Nintendo likely used profits from 3D Land to pay the team that made 3D World, and that game is cool, but it's generally the same framework with a boatload more content, assets, and presentation. It still couldn't pay for any core gameplay shifts. Then came Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, a fresh 3D puzzle platformer. Wait! Oh, what? Let's not get distracted. Today, Nintendo's Mario formulas are fun for people who simply don't want or know any better. Kids, adults who don't know video games, or adults who are stuck in the past. These experiences are full of baggage I no longer can carry. Not because I don't like video games,
But why should I keep watching and paying the insane clown Nintendo to twist out balloon snakes? What if I want a balloon giraffe? Or like a balloon combustion engine? It's not too much to ask. I'm saying Nintendo keep making really familiar games on autopilot, sort of like a snake balloon animal. The snake balloon animal requires minimal effort, but if you're charismatic, you can convince kids that you made something that, it's cool. It's so cool.
Put simply, Shovel Knight is more concentrated and passionate than 3D Land. But honestly, Shovel Knight could have appeared since the 90s. This shows how complacent we've gotten with our entertainment, how no one's daring to try new things because it probably won't sell well and will die unrecognized. Phew! We survived the storm. How do you feel, Shovel Knight? How about you, Mario? Cool!
Okay, so this was supposed to be about nostalgia, but I ended up talking about literally everything else. Here's the thing. Video games are young. Even though graphics have improved exponentially, interactive design is just a baby at like 35 years old. This is nothing compared to film, theater, music, and books. In this way, it's odd that there's such a culture of nostalgia for such a comparatively young art form. I think that because games evolved visually so quickly, it's easier for adults now to look back and distinctly remember the big graphical shifts, gimmicks, and playstyles over the years. That said, a game only feels nostalgic to someone who's already played it. Nostalgia comes from the sights and sounds of a game helping us to remember the good old days, after time passes. When you first played a Mario game, it felt fresh and interesting. It is genuinely hard to lose that admiration when you come back 5 or even 20 years later. That's what nostalgia goggles are. Also, the old Mario games are masterful. Except they're not masterful just because they're old. They're masterful because, for their time, they were the best thing around. I'm sure there are kids today playing the new Super Mario Bros. Series that will certainly feel nostalgia for them down the line. Even if those games are stupid and don't experiment much, and I hate children. JK, Rowling, Harry Potter, what? Nostalgia is exactly why it's tough to show someone a game they never grew up with. Old school graphics and old school music are not in and of themselves nostalgic. They are, practically speaking, slightly easier and less CPU intensive if you're going the 16-bit route. Still, one can't develop a nostalgic game. I'm sorry, Nintendo, it just doesn't make emotional sense. The most one can do is make an engaging, clever game
Like Shovel Knight.
and trust that it stands the test of time. Only after time passes will people talk about the nostalgia they feel for it. After time passes, the player creates their own emotional identity for the game. No nostalgic games, just nostalgic people. You can't really shoot an arrow into the future, and you can't really target nostalgia. You can target quality. Targeting quality progresses the art form. Targeting nostalgia doesn't. The only way we can turn the tide of tedium is if you stop spending your sweet, hard-earned money on diddly, crappy, duty-poopy that you've seen before. You see your own poopy every day. Don't pay for corporate poopy. What? Stop letting the Activisions, EAs, and Ubisofts give you bloated sequel chips and cheese when you can have the gourmet veggie-stuffed baked potato surprise from literally anywhere else. Nintendo doesn't need to reinvent itself, it just needs to drop some baggage. It needs to get out its notepad and learn a thing or two from the West Side, yo! Our upstarts like Yacht Club Games aren't fooling around! I said fooling. In conclusion, does Super Mario 3D Land evoke nostalgia? No. And how about Shovel Knight? Ask me in 5 years.
And then I'll probably say yes. Yes, definitely. Super nostalgic. Oh, remember that time in Shovel Knight when it was the best and you played it and made a video about it? Yeah. Okay, bye. Thanks for watching all this. If you had a good time, like, subscribe, and share this with your cool buds who like cool things like you think this video is a cool thing. Again, I don't hate Mario or Nintendo. I'm just another guy who wishes he could see the company do interesting things with their IPs and characters. Anyway, Nintendo are developing a new game system, the NX. And going back to basics with Zelda, so who knows? Till then, try Shovel Knight. It's pretty fun. So is the Plague Knight expansion. Woo! Future videos like this are probably gonna be much shorter and more focused on just emotions. I'm living and learning. I hope you enjoyed this anyway. It took me like a year and a half to make. And there's a motorcycle in the background. Thanks again and have a good one. I'm going to go not look at screens for a few weeks. See ya!
See ya! See ya! Does that sound nice and natural? See you later!